Oh, that introduction was heavy. Now, a lot of you might be thinking that I'm some incredible guy here to give a serious talk. But wait, let me tell you all one more thing about myself. I would rather be at home on my device playing a video game instead of being up here on this stage and giving you all a talk, which quite frankly, I do not remember why I signed up to give. In fact, while everyone else was panicking and freaking out about this event, I could most probably be found sitting in a corner watching memes. But seriously, who wouldn't? I'm sure that all of us would rather be on a device. Right now, before going to bed, after waking up, at homes, offices, schools, airports, and even in the bathroom. This is in comparison to the late 90s when most households owned a single desktop, which they collectively used for only 1 hour a week. We now have the audacity to use our personal computers at every possible idle time and place for innumerable reasons. Now, let's stop for a moment and compare this to a shipwreck from 1912. The Titanic had hit the iceberg, yet the choir continued to sing and the people continued to dance, oblivious to the impending doom. Just like how the water seeped in through the cracks of the hull, climbing deck after deck, making its way to consume the unsuspecting people above, technology is doing the same. Human civilization has hit the iceberg of AI. What used to be a fun splash here and there is now making way for a much bigger and much worse tidal wave, threatening to drown us in an information overload. If we try to push off tech from our world at this point, you can imagine that businesses would be toast without computers. Healthcare could not be so easy without fancy machines. And school, can you imagine studying without your device? Total nightmare. In a nutshell, it would take us back to the Stone Age. Except not literally, because I don't know where we'd get all that stone from. Realizing the urgency of this situation, it is more important than ever that we mark our boundaries for beneficial use of technology and stop this flooding of information from choking our mental space. It is critical that we make our way to the fresh air where we can breathe comfortably, enjoy mental peace, foster genuine connections with others, and most of all, liberate ourselves from the mental shackles of the information age. These examples being shown on the screen right now show just how much technology is now in the driving seat of human civilization. And not all of them are bad. In fact, most of them are really helpful and have a positive impact. But there is one really big impact that technology has on us. One that isn't all that good. I'm going to say it really slowly so that you all can hear. Technology affects mental health. Alright, I just realized it doesn't sound as scary as the slide showed it. Mental health. So, I challenged myself and wrote all the effects I could find that technology has on our mental health on one slide, but wrote each effect with a different color available. Spoiler alert, I ran out of colors before I ran out of effects. Talk about a rainbow of problems. Now, I'm not going to explain all of these, but allow me to shed some light on the more significant ones. First of all, social media apps on their devices make us less social. People fulfill their social needs through these apps and don't care so much about what they are doing outside of them. These apps provide a superficial experience of human interaction, which is driven more by values like attention-seeking, validation, greed, and social competition instead of pure empathy, care, and understanding. Secondly, sleep disturbances. When we use a screen at night, which a lot of us do, we are using it at a time when we are probably supposed to be sleeping. Because of this, most people can't sleep well. There's a lot of technical vocabulary that explains this, but to sum it up, the light being emitted from our screens disrupt a specific function in our brain which causes us to have troubles like difficulty falling asleep or not having the healthy amount of deep sleep. Furthermore, many of us are just fixated with this urge of perpetual connection, an illusion of staying up to date via a continuous inflow of news, a barrage of notifications, what's trending and what is not, and to say the least, a habit of mindless scrolling. This all can lead to low self-esteem, fear of missing out, and psychological burnout. Studies have also found association between technological use and a range of mental health issues, including anxiety, depression, and even attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD for short. None of us want these, right? But how can we prevent them? As I mentioned before, we need, and I'm not saying want, we need technology. Humans are extremely social and competitive creatures. We want to do what others are doing, and we feel left out if we don't. By seeing our friends play a certain video game or chat on a particular platform, we want to play that game too. We want to text on that platform too. It's not like anyone could say a few words regarding its potential harmful effects and suddenly everyone would stop using technology when they don't need to. It's just not that simple. If I were to tell myself to stop playing video games because of the problems they may cause to my mental health, I would just shrug it off and get back to it again. Well, does this change the fact that technology has a big toll on us? Obviously not. So how can we minimize that? Well, the internet has a few questionable answers to this. The first suggestion is to set daily boundaries. This would be a good idea if it did not require immense motivation and self-discipline. Gen Z is already running short in many such soft skills, so expecting this feat of keeping within the time restrictions from us is honestly being unrealistic. Be honest, how many times do you tell yourself, okay, I'm only going to use XYZ app for 30 minutes, and then you're so engrossed in it that the next time you look at the clock, hours have gone by. Tip number 2, take regular breaks away from the screen. It is hard to explain the absurdity of this notion, so I'm going to explain it in gaming terminology. You know when you reach that level in a game in which you're supposed to defeat a boss, you don't just go all out in the beginning. You do some substantial damage, and then you hide behind a rock and heal. And then you do some more damage, and then hide and heal. And you do this repeatedly until you finally beat that boss. These strategic timeouts are just like the breaks away from the screen we take in real life. These pit stops help us recoup our energy and relax our eyes. But that's about it. Our minds are still stuck in that exact same loop, thinking about the game all this while, even when they're on break. The third suggestion is to be aware of which social groups you're in. They say, don't play toxic games, chat on user-friendly platforms, don't talk to strangers, etc. But we all know we aren't going to do that. Why? Because why should we play a solo farming game when we can play this competitive multiplayer game which all of our friends are playing? Why should we text in a blocky interface when we can use this interface with a lot more added features, more people to talk to, when the only downside is that we're talking to strangers? It would take an inhuman amount of self-control to not do what other people are doing and to not get tangled into that social web. So, this suggestion was a dead end too. This is how, upon combing through the internet, which itself is a technology, I was yet to find a solution on how we can safely coexist with the information age. You see the irony of Gen Z? So with this question in mind, I lazily turned to my age-old hobby of procrastinating. While scrolling through some random wiki articles, I found out that sloths and koalas make it to the list of animal sleepyheads by spending around 20 hours a day in slumberland. Quite random information, right? That's what I saw as I shut down my laptop and went to bed. But right before I fell asleep, the gears in my head started turning. But sadly, I dozed off before I could do anything about it. So now I stand before all of you here today to share with you all the wise koala's wisdom, which my unconscious brain somehow figured out. Sleep is the answer. As a sleep lover myself, I can relate that sleeping is a bliss. I've had a long day, sleep. I'm mentally worked up, sleep. I'm worried about something, sleep. I'm mad at someone, you guessed it, sleep. Nature has given us a power plug, sort of a factory reset system in the form of sleep. Science has also revealed that sleep is a mega stress buster. It improves memory and decision-making ability. It improves your ability to concentrate, strengthens your immune system, makes you a better problem solver, and it even goes as far as reducing your risks of being killed in a car accident. Sleep is a magic potion which rejuvenates the energy, helps in digestion, and replenishes sugar levels in the brain. Finally, most people consider it highly enjoyable, including me. Would you want to try it? If you fall asleep right now, which I hope you don't, you know what your brain will be doing? It will be sorting through everything that happened today. We'll keep all the information you might need in the future in the memory system and throw out all the junk in some transit junkyard. Well, this might include my TED Talk too if you doze off at this point, so please, let me make my point clear before that. So what actually is sleep? Before the 1950s, most people believed sleep was a passive activity during which the body and brain were dormant. But now, research has revealed that sleep is a period of time during which the brain is engaged in a number of activities closely linked to the quality of life. To make things simple, how does your device behave in sleep mode? The interface is blank. However, the processors keep working in the background. Apps keep running, data storage work goes on, and the fans are at work for the device to cool off. Exactly is the same with us when we are sleeping. Our eyes are closed, muscle activity is reduced, meaning blank interface. But our subconscious brain is still running in the background. It's doing the cool off, waste disposal, consolidation of information, and it's now backed up by scientific evidence that people who sleep more live longer. While in the information age, we are constantly filling our minds up with information, be it necessary for us or not at all. We have annihilated the concept of sitting idle, thoughts from the cyber world constantly gnawing at the back of our head. We need to relax more often, calm down, and to stop worrying. A frenzied brain is so much more likely to be inflicted by mental health problems than a calm one. The easiest and most straightforward way to calm it down is to just go sleep mode. But what happens when we don't sleep? When we don't get a healthy amount of sleep over a period of time, our bodies go into fight or flight mode, meaning they start releasing stress hormones. If sleep deprivation and overproduction of stress hormones continue, you'll start feeling the effects of chronic stress. And yes, of course, that affects your mental health. So after all of these scientific explanations, the simplified lesson is, to survive the information age with our mental health intact, we should be using the power of sleeping. In a nutshell, technology causes stress. And it is so incredibly, frustratingly tiring to always be so worried about what's going on. Sleep is quite literally the way all living things relax. I see the lack of sleep that technology causes as the main reason for why it causes mental health issues in the first place. I mean, like, seriously, have you ever seen anyone who sleeps like a bear have depression? I haven't. From here on out, let us honor the wise koala's wisdom by falling asleep right after this event is over. Now, please excuse me as I go find a comfortable corner to nap.